I'm so grateful today to introduce you, if you don't already know her, to the Reverend Amy Cantrell, a fellow Presbyterian pastor and co-founder of BeLoved Asheville, an amazing organization that has been working for years in Asheville, North Carolina, with our neighbors who are unhoused and other folks who are working in solidarity to bring about housing justice, accessible, safe, affordable housing, to work together to confront other issues facing us of injustice in a really intersectional way. And Amy and her team has been at the very forefront of responding to the effects of Hurricane Helene, and we are lifting up not just BeLoved Asheville, but that entire part of the country today. And I'll say a little more about it when we get there, but our offering today will go to support this ministry. And we wanted to invite Reverend Amy in to say a little bit more about what it means to be at this juncture in this moment as we ground ourselves in Micah 6:8. O mortal, what is good, and what does the Lord require of you? But to do justice, to love kindness, and to walk humbly with God. And I can't imagine, Amy, that this isn't a salient text in this moment, as you all have been working tirelessly to embody these instructions. Both very straightforward instructions and also such a labor of love. And so I just invite you to share with us a little bit about what you've been up to and how we can support and love on you folks.
Thank you so much, Shawna, my dear friend. So grateful for you and all of you at the Presbytery of Chicago for walking alongside us in this moment of deep devastation. We live in one of the ground zeros of this horrific event. And those ground zeros are across a wide swath of the Appalachian Mountains here in Western North Carolina. But I live in Swannanoa, and so waking up to the effects of Hurricane Helene, literally cutting trees to get down to the river and finding neighbors who had died floating down the river, others clinging to trees and screaming, "Help! Help!" at the top of their lungs. So many who had been devastated, and so this was our first shocking day. Our neighbor's house slid off the mountain in a mudslide. They did not survive. 93 deaths throughout Western North Carolina, over 125,000 homes either lost or severely damaged, affecting about 200,000 people across our region. It's an immense storm, really what they call now 2 hurricanes. We had over a day worth of rain that fell the day before Hurricane Helene struck. So we were already flooding before the hurricane arrived from another storm. 31.33 inches of rain fell here. Our river crested at 26.1 feet. It floods at 10 feet was the flood stage. So we were some 16 feet above flood stage where we are. Some 40 trillion gallons of rain fell east of the Mississippi with this storm. And so it has been like nothing I've ever experienced in my life, the devastation. And I can't emphasize enough the wide swath of the devastation and the many years that it will take to recover here, particularly rehoming all the people that lost homes in this storm. And what we're now hearing is 10, 15, 20, 30-year effects on the ecosystems here. Asheville was declared a climate safe haven in the midst of the pandemic. And I can assure you, if you have any doubt, that there are no climate safe havens. We are all in this boat together, sharing this one home that is our earth, and we are all called to steward it. And we are on fire here to be ambassadors for stewarding the beautiful creation that we've been given, and to steward our other most important gift, which is each other, our neighbors. If we ever knew that anybody was coming to save us, we know now it is us. It is neighbors helping neighbors, whether we are right next door or you in Chicago, coming to be with us and walk this journey with us. One of the most beautiful things that I have ever seen in the midst of one of the most horrific things I've ever experienced is the way that neighbors have loved and taken care of neighbors. We have friends that we stopped to speak with, and they talked about the water rushing down the mountain and the water rushing from the river, and their house caught in the path. Dad liberated the children as quickly as he could, and came back for his wife who could not swim. They were caught in the waters, and they pointed across the street and they said, "That tree is what saved us." Imagine first being saved by a tree. So thinking about our land and how beautiful and powerful it can be to save us. And God created it that way. And then he said, we were in the tree. I was trying to keep my wife's face out of the water. And our neighbors, who we did not know, we had never met, they threw a rope across and they saved our lives. And that's who we are to each other. That we can be the people. This is why we are called to love God and love each other. And when we walk humbly with God, we care for our neighbors. And we are the power that Jesus gave us to be liberators, co-liberators together, to literally save one another. So at BeLoved, we began on day one to think about who among our neighbors would be most easily forgotten. And so in a place where we had no food and water for days, we began, as we got food and water, to immediately go to public housing complexes and elder neighborhoods, and to go to mobile home parks where mostly our Latino neighbors had been segregated with no other housing option than to be in mobile homes by the river. And so we went immediately to those places. We began forming flush brigades to go in and help neighbors flush their toilets and sanitize because we had no water. We just yesterday got potable water back in our city, but there's many across the region that still don't have potable water. We became experts in water filtration, learning and helping our neighbors learn how to filter the water around them. We learned from an Indiana farmer how to use a farming tote that holds 300 gallons of water and pump it through a building so that we could create temporary water infrastructure for schools and childcare centers so that they could come back and help care for our children. And so these are some of the things that we've been doing in the early days, getting food and water to about 15,000 people every day in the most high impact zones. Sending nurses and medics in to do well checks and get medication. We had a pharmacist on call, so getting oxygen, insulin, and other medications to folks directly. Always through an equity lens, our work, and so we wanted to make sure that we were doing equitable distribution of resources, particularly to our BIPOC communities and our queer communities and others that might be left out or often face discrimination and other distribution points. We had hike teams going in, hiking some 5 miles often to reach inaccessible places to make sure that they had what they needed. Often finding elders on oxygen that needed generators, or we even found a family that had given birth to their child in the midst of this hurricane. So this is some of the work that we were doing in those early days. We're continuing to get basic survival resources. We are standing up what we call midterm recovery, so RVs and tiny homes on wheels and yurts with hot stoves, wood stoves, and bathrooms in them so that people can survive the winter. Winter is onsetting very quickly, and so our high on Friday will be 39 degrees. We'll be plunging into deep freeze overnight, so we want to try to make sure we're saving lives. And then long-term, working on long-term recovery. So we're starting home repair already. We are looking for land. Shawna spoke a little bit about our work. We've been building the area's first deeply affordable housing village with equity that's become a national model. It's set to open within the next month, and we are looking for land right now so that we can build many, many, many homes through that model for those that lost their homes, and also building homes on land that where folks lost all that they had. I was thinking about that story where you're tearing the roof off the sucker, which I think is really powerful. So a lot of our families had to do that to escape the floodwaters, literally tear through the roof. And often neighbors in kayaks were coming to rescue them. So many people had this experience in reverse where their neighbors were literally carrying them to safety. And we thank God for that. We have received many hugs, prayers, and survival resources from all over the country. And so we thank you for walking alongside us. We know this next phase will be a huge phase when it comes to needing resources. The final phase for us, we're working on economic recovery. So particularly paying folks that often, again, through a lens of equity, those are often left out, paying them to be a part of the solution and help with construction, help with creating food access or creating healthy meals that are cultural comfort foods, whether it's soul food or tamales or so many different wonderful dishes from Salvador, Honduras, all over the world that are people's cultural comfort foods that live here. And so that's really important. And then advocating for just recovery and for climate solutions now. So that is a lot of what we're doing. So we invite you to do that at the federal level with us, and also at the state level. We're trying to stop evictions. Many people are facing eviction, and we just helped a woman to pay rent so she would stop her eviction. So many are facing losing homes that survived the storm, but now are in the economic storm. And so we certainly need resources, and we need you to walk alongside us for the long haul and continue to shout this out from the rooftops, that Western North Carolina needs the solidarity of the rest of the United States and the world, and that we all need to walk together toward climate solutions where everyone thrives. That's my last word, is that we believe that we could recover on a foundation of equity that creates a Western North Carolina and shows the world, right, that we can create a place where everybody thrives if we do that through an equity lens, and where we're focused on equity from the start of the recovery. And so I invite you all to help us lift that message and to continue to do that where you are. I'll say you don't have to wait till a disaster strikes to know your neighbors and to be committed to their good and well-being and solidarity. And we will need that in the coming years more than ever before. So thank you. We love you. We pray for you, and we ask you pray for us and put your prayers into action.
Thank you. I can't imagine a more beautiful image of the Connectional Church than the image of throwing ropes to one another and bringing one another to safety. And so we'll continue to hear and tell the stories not only of beloved Asheville, but of Western North Carolina. We'll share those in the Connect and out to all of you and in places where you can continue to stay connected. And we will invite you later in the service to make contributions to help support this work that we heard of being so short-term, mid-term, and much, much longer term. What does it mean to be not only in solidarity with one another, but with humility with the land that has the capacity to save us if we collaborate with it? With that, I'm going to invite you into our response to this story. And following that, we'll hear another beautiful hymn. And so let us respond as a gathered community. We have come to put our love, our prayers, our tenderness for God in motion, walking not to arrive or to win, but to experience a God who walks with us. We have come to give ourselves over to the kind of conversation that can only bubble up in a quiet attentiveness, a one foot in front of the other kind of meditation. We have come to speak of justice and beauty, and to tell God the secrets of our hearts, where they will be held tenderly without judgment. We've come to walk humbly with God.